So for people who don't know, this video is by a girl who calls herself Superwoman on YouTube, has, I think, 5 million plays at the time of recording this, and it's called a geography class for racist people. Let's set it up.
If you're gonna be racist, at least do it right. And look at this comment under my YouTube video. Go back to your country, you terrorist Paki, Afghan Indian Muslim slut.
Notice something? This entire video, this is important, is predicated on a YouTube comment without an avatar or any likes. Without a hint of irony, she included that. It says 0. Not even 1. Not even 2. 2 would be +2 from 0.
With all kinds of misspelling, so he knows like some 13-year-old.
It could be a sock account that was created just for this. Here's the important part. That comment, obviously indefensible, but she uses that comment as a springboard to make gross generalizations about anyone who is Republican, conservative, right-wing. That's why it's important to know. That's the setup. Let's move on.
Hello! Today we're going to be taking a trip around the world, so you'll need to pack. It's probably been years since you've had the chance to use your passport, just like your penis. But don't worry, this time you'll actually take off.
See, this is why old media resisted YouTube for so long. They would say, and this is true, and I tried to fight against it. We've tried to elevate quality here by actually spending hours and hours trying to write material and jokes and source stories. Here's a broad who's made it because of a niche, okay? She's made it because of a niche. She's in Indian in Toronto. It's a big market there. This is a bad joke that wouldn't even pass at an open mic. It's that bad. People look at it and they would say, oh, see, YouTube's nothing but a bunch of hacks because of this kind of material. But here's the thing. Her jokes are not nearly as bad as her points or ideas. And we'll get to those.
India is all the way over here, across the ocean. So unfortunately, you won't be able to drive your trailer there. Once you board your flight, settle in. It's going to be a long journey. But that's okay. You can take a good rest. It must be so exhausting to walk right through airport security.
So many assumptions. Trailer, dragging it across that. We've already started with the generalizations. By the way, I actually don't walk straight through airport security, and neither does Naki Jared when we went to Ireland. But I should, because I'm much less likely to commit a crime or terrorism, certainly on a plane, than a Muslim. Yes, Muslims who typically come from countries and they are brown. So terrorist attacks took place in 92 countries in 2015. These are the numbers that we have. We don't have ones from 2017, but they were heavily concentrated geographically. More than 55% of all the attacks took place in 5 countries: Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and Nigeria. And 74% of all the deaths due to terrorist attacks took place in 5 countries: Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nigeria, and Syria. 450 out of 452 suicide attacks in 2015 alone were by Muslim extremists. That's more than 99.899%. So racial profiling at TSA, you bet, yay math.
The aircraft you're flying will probably be a double-decker, which means it'll have about 300 to 400 people on board, which is approximately the same amount of people at Trump's inauguration.
I don't know about the exact numbers at the inauguration. I'm more concerned with the tens of millions of Americans who were actually attending work that day. You know, the tens of millions of Americans who elect presidents.
Please note that we're not going to fly through the Bermuda Triangle because things mysteriously disappear there. In fact, that's probably where your education went.
I don't think Miss Super Bollywood here fully grasps the concept of education. It's not memory. It's not a perishable skill. Once educated on an issue, you don't lose it. That's how many times have you heard, right? An education is something that you can always take with you. No one can ever take that away from you, short of a neurodegenerative disease or some kind of traumatic brain injury, for which right now I am yearning deeply.
We're going to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, around Africa, and through this passageway that's very narrow. Just like your mind.
Narrow-minded, I know, right? Just like my narrow-minded Trump-waving sign, trailer trash, geographically challenged, TSA-bucking, uneducated mind. Only none of those are true. I'm sorry, you were saying something about narrow-mindedness.
You may recognize some of these countries we're flying over as places immigrants come from to steal your jobs. Or just the same countries you steal oil from.
Firstly, miseducation. Don't unphrase in a preposition. It makes you sound as amateurish as your jokes. I know people are going to argue with me on that. Second, I think you need to educate yourself on the concept of stealing. Hint, it's not importing almost $2.9 billion barrels of crude oil for a price between $30 and $50 per barrel in 2016. That's a lot of money. Also, I think if you're talking about stealing oil, you should learn what a war for resources look like. Historically, it's typically conquer the area with resources, namely the oil fields. Once secured, you create a perimeter around the oil fields, kill anybody who comes near the oil fields, siphon out the natural resource, and move on to the next oil field. You don't pack up and leave like we did in Desert Storm just a couple weeks after fighting, or withdraw from Iraq as we did in 2011 to let ISIS capture the oil fields. Seems to me like you need to steal an education.
Once we reach our destination, you'll notice that India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan are actually 3 separate countries.
Oh, I know this people are going to say this is trivial. This is such a Canadian leftist pseudo-multiculturalist affectation, right? Listen, I'm from Montreal. I don't say Montréal in English. And it's not because English people are stupid. It's because they know it is Montreal. Pakistan, Afghanistan. But then she says India. Why not Bharat? They don't necessarily say India. You put the accent to try and note proper pronunciation, but you're just an idiot. Plenty of countries have different names in their native tongue than we use in English. Notice countries like España, Deutschland, Österreich, and Hungary. You've never gotten it right, Hungary, so don't expect me to get your name right.
When you land and are going through customs and they ask for your occupation, make sure you say trash can. And when they ask your date of birth, be sure to say 3000 BC. You effing caveman.
I mean, I hate to say someone who I disagree with is just not funny. That's not the argument. Hopefully the argument of ideas, sure. You can take that here. But saying, you're a trash can, you're a caveman. I mean, is this not an example of third grade writing? What? I bet your dad's occupation is a trash can. Burn! You're not allowed at the cool kids table. By the way, you mentioned cavemen, miseducated, 3000 BC. You're off by nearly about forever. Scientists say millions of years ago, up until 7500 BC, that's what cavemen started doing long distance trading. So I guess you could say you missed it by that much.
And I know what you're thinking. It probably smells like curry.
No, I was not. This is not. I did not think that India smells like curry. No. We would never make a gross generalization about an entire country based on a stereotype. I would think it smells like human shit, because people poop in the streets in India. 50% actually poop out in the open in India. So I would never make a stereotype based on a generalization based on stereotypes. I would make it, however, based on verifiable statistics. 50% in the streets, human shit.
You'll notice right away that India is full of beautiful sights and culture.
The only sights I can think of are the people in the streets, just all over. Once you see it, it ruins the landscape. Look at that wonderful temple. I can't get that guy's dumping right on the temple. Next clip.
And although there are approximately 175 million Muslims in India, there are approximately 2 billion in the whole world, which means if every Muslim was a terrorist, you wouldn't stand a goddamn chance.
Nothing like rooting for the home team with enthusiasm. So yeah, she's right. There are about 2 billion Muslims. See, we mentioned Muslims on Hopper Walks Away. There are about 2 billion Muslims. That's true in the world, and only a few hundred million of which believe in some form of Sharia law, death for apostates, abuse of women, or support the destruction not only of Israel but the entire Jewish people. As far as not standing a chance, I actually think Superwoman here has a good point. If we didn't have a country based on a system of constitutional law, westernized values, and individual freedoms, you're right, it would probably be rough. We wouldn't stand a chance. We'd almost look like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Syria, or even India. Good thing we're not.
Now that we're here, the good news is your wife can save all that money she spends at tanning salons trying to look closer to my complexion.
First off, that's very racist. I mean, people throw the term around. You're literally implying that you are superior because of your skin color. Maybe we'll pull up the definition at some point. I think I would file that somewhere under racism, but I don't really care. And nobody fake tans to try and look Indian. Maybe this person, tanning mom. So you know what?
Oh.
In being fair and balanced, we report you to. That's one for you, Superwoman. That's one for you.
You got one.
Quick travel tip. If you're going to India, they don't kill cows there, so there's no beef. But don't worry, because if you kill anything, it'll be considered mental illness. So you're good.
So I'm supposed to believe they're pooping in the streets from just eating vegetables, not buying it, firstly. Second, the only person here with a mental illness is the one responding to an entirely fictitious group of walking, talking, racist, fake tanning human trash cans because of one YouTube comment with an amateur anonymous avatar and no likes. I'm sorry, did I say mental illness? I meant retarded. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe by clicking the button. It's a circular button now that says subscribe. If not, head on over to the Young Turks. That's probably more your speed. Although they're coming over here, Cenk, we know you're here watching. I can smell you from here. There's also a recommended video box playing right up there. You can join the Mug Club at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub for daily content, so we're not dependent here on YouTube. Cenk, go. No. Go. You don't need to stay here. This isn't good for, it's bad for your soul.